Rusty is not behaving himself. We're going to try this one more time. We are looking, or I am looking and filming, at the upper pond, of course. Some nice reflections. And the heavy rain has knocked the toad's egg sac into the pond. This, I don't know what effect this will have. I hope it's a good one. I don't know though. But I do know that the Ukraine will normally feed between 300 million and 400 million people with its grain exports. This year that number has been cut by 80%. The war in the Ukraine is the cause of that. The blockade in the Black Sea by the Russian Navy, the shells in the grain fields, the crops, as well as some tank barricades that the Ukrainians, I think, have put up. Everybody's fighting over the fields where they grow the crops, which means 200, 300 million people come December are going to be real hungry. Now, my wife, who knows more than I do about these things, figures that the worst of it is going to happen about December, because people are going to start hoarding and trying to get their Christmas goodies collected. And what will have been in short supply will be in no supply. This is not going to be good. We're doing what we can, Beth and Shirley and us, to ensure that our families may get maybe a little thinner, but we're not going to starve, because we'll have protein in the fish pond and vegetables in the garden. And as there's not going to be an absolute famine, that little bit extra will go a long way to keeping everybody happy. And if, we're not sure, but if our geese will lay some eggs that we will leave to mature and hatch, if we can get eggs that are hatched, we can all have goose for Christmas, which is a pretty good deal when you think about it. And that's pretty much primarily on my mind right now. Making sure, as much as we can, whatever is within our power, to produce enough food for 3 families. Or at least enough food that will stretch out the supplies that we can buy at the store. We'll see what happens. I hope my voice is okay. I'm a little farther back from the camera than I usually am. It is going to start raining sooner or later, so now Rusty, get out of there. Out! Out! Come on, out! Back! He likes to go and knock my camera into the pond if he can, and I won't let him. Get out of here! No! He is being a problem today. He's just turned 1 and a bit, and he thinks he's trying to be the alpha male. A mistake. Now I'm going to bring the camera up, because I think with the sun and the shade and everything the way it is, there, I'll just keep bringing it up. And there. Okay, that's a good place to stop. The camera just focused sort of in. Alright, to get that focused in properly, I'll move it just a little that way. And that looks a lot better. That gives us a nice center focus. Now, what you haven't seen yet is the top of the fence. I told you that we had a tall fence and that it's starting to get rather green up there. There you go. A nice green fence. Now, the ladies and I have been talking, and get out of there. Out! As much as we like to see the green stuff there, it would look even better if that green stuff had beans growing on it, or squash. We're going to look into that, see what we can do about these fences to get some vertical growing going. We already have some. The beans in the lower part of this vegetable patch are certainly going vertical. The squash has gone vertical like we hoped. And as much as it's horizontal, it's bragging times, folks. Our tomatoes are starting to come into fruit. We this morning counted them up and we've got 5 nice tomatoes growing and a whole bunch more blossoms. So we'll see what happens there. Now we have pretty much given up on the strawberries, sadly, for this year. Our summer's gone and now it's a little cool and a little wet. And remember, we're in the tropics. Ain't global climate change marvelous? Yeah, the strawberries are a bit of a bust this year, but they're potted. We're going to keep them growing, and hopefully when summer hits next year, we'll get some fruit. We'll see what happens there. Now the peanuts are doing magnificently. I think the ladies have got 40 pots with peanuts in them, which means we've got about 50, 60 peanut plants growing, which could give us somewhere between 2,500 and 5,000 actual peanuts if they all mature and they get a good crop. That's going to be a nice bonus because they're going to come in just about Christmas, and that'll make Christmas a little bit cheerier. Peanuts are a Christmas thing here. The green peppers are doing fine. We have planted some long silly peppers. They're about 8 inches long and they're nice and spicy hot. So if they will grow and do well, we'll be a real happy cowboy. Or I'll be. I like spicy food now. Which is really too bad because with my stomach at 71, I shouldn't be eating too much spicy food. But what the heck? You can eat only what you've got. What else is going on in the garden? Papaya. We've got papaya that are almost ripe. We've got papayas that have just started growing. 5 papaya trees, and they're coming into fruit now. Some of them. We're going to do good there. We have got lots of bell peppers growing. And tomatoes, peanuts, black beans, peach eye, 4 other types of green leafy stuff, bochai, whatever, bachai, mustard plants. What else do we have? A fair bit actually, I just can't remember the names right now. And the garden's doing well, which is good because if things are going to get as tough as it looks here, and remember folks, the Philippines, 80% of the population lives in poverty. About 10% live in really comfortable wealth. And there is a small middle class, of which I suppose I would be a part of, and my wife. But for the 80% of the people who live hand to mouth, it's going to get tight in a few months. It's going to be a quiet Christmas. Maybe they'll go back to tuba. Now, tuba is a local drink. You make it by taking the coconut juice, milk, and leaving it up in a container in the top of the coconut tree. And eventually it ferments. Makes a wicked drink, they tell me. There was a time my lady and I were walking up a path, to get to our house when we lived off the road. And I heard this voice shouting from above, "Brian, Brian!" And as I was a pastor at the time, I thought God might be trying to talk to me, so I stopped and looked up, and it wasn't God. What it was some of our neighbors, and they had put well, they called it a ladder. What I called it was a single column of bamboo with cross pieces every couple of feet tied to it. And that was their ladder. They said, come on up and have a drink. And I thought, no, thank you. I may be able to climb up, but I would certainly fall down. And they laughed, and we went away. I don't think they fell. They were used to it. You never know what's going to happen on this mountain. But they may go back to that, though. For years now, this place has been rich enough to afford rum. The Philippines makes they tell me decent. I've never drank it. When I came here, I'd already quit drinking. But they tell me it makes a different, decent rum. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. But it's hard to go from rum to local homemade fermented wine. Because that stuff is one step off of vinegar or one step into vinegar, depending on how good or how bad a crop you get out of it. But it's going to be interesting come December. I really don't know what'll happen. I know the last few years have been tough. There used to be a lot more New Year's Eve celebrating and fireworks and all that, but the COVID-19 kind of put the kibosh on that. Especially not only couldn't they gather, but they didn't have any money to buy anything because they couldn't go to work. And now they're not going to have any food to buy or much to buy. I know the Philippines is Asian, it depends on rice. Yeah, but it imports a lot of that rice. Ooh, there's a nice tilapia just sitting there in the water. We're going to harvest those tomorrow, the next day. And there might be half a dozen big ones in there. We'll split them up and have some nice fried fish for dinner. The lower pond tilapia, there's hundreds been there now. We're going to have to thin those out again, so we've got to make room up here. It's nice to have an abundance of food. Now, I don't know, but I'm going to try, folks. Bear with me. I bring the camera over slowly. Ought to be right about there. And I bring it down, 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 down. Keep it coming, Brian. Okay, now I can't, whoops, that was a little jiggly, wasn't it? But if I've got this set up right, in the water, you'll be seeing a tilapia. If I don't have it set up right, you have my apologies. There it's focused. We'll see what happens. In any case, it's 13, 14 minutes and the rain's going to start. So if we're lucky, we've got tilapia at the end of this. And if we're not, well, I guess I just made you sick. Yeah, that should be right about at it. It's trying to focus, but it's not working. Okay. Okay, well, the end of this video is not quite what I wanted. I may have to cut it off. We'll see what happens. So in case I keep it all, have a good day. Hope you enjoy it, and maybe we talk tomorrow. Bye-bye.